Good morning. Today is Sunday, the 9th day of Adar. Today is actually the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, came here to the United States, being saved from the Nazi Poland. And that was in 1940 when the Frierdiker Rebbe arrived here. So it's a big day celebration. And today's Tanya share, we begin chapter 32. 32 in Hebrew is Lamed Beis, which spells Lev, which means the heart. And indeed, this chapter is like the heart of the Tanya. In this chapter, the Alter Rebbe explains how is it possible to love a fellow Jew just the same as you, as the famous song goes. How is that possible? You know, we have the commandment, and it says in the Torah, "Ve'ahavta l'reyacha kamoicha." Love your friend, which refers here to a fellow Jew, just as you love yourself. It would be hard enough to say, love your fellow. If we would say, "Ve'ahavta l'reyacha," love your fellow, that itself is also not easy. To get to love somebody, you need a reason to love someone. You love someone because he's kind-hearted. You love someone because he's good to you. The person is smart. Whatever reason you find to love someone, but this is not easy to achieve. But the question is stronger because the commandment is not just to love someone, but to love him like you love yourself. How is that possible? And indeed, then in our sages give different explanations. What does it mean to love someone like you love yourself? It's like the famous saying, what you don't want to be done to you, don't do to others. But this is not the feeling of love to someone. This is the way you're supposed to act. That I can understand. That I can understand. That you have to act, you have a commandment, regardless whether you like it or not, act the way the Torah says, act to others the way you would want to act you to yourself. But that's not what the Torah says. The Torah says love. You should really love someone else like you love yourself. And here the Alter Rebbe explains, and he says, if you want to understand this, you have to study what we learned in the previous chapter, chapter 31, chapter 30. And there we explained, the Alter Rebbe explained, about how a person is supposed to get himself to be besimcha, to be in happiness, despite the fact that is not in a good place. And Alter Rebbe explained that we have to look at ourselves as the neshama, the godly soul, rather than the animal soul. In other words, we have to see what is the real me. Being that I have an animal soul, and this animal soul is so distant from Hashem, and it is blocking the godliness. In order to get yourself to connect to Hashem and to feel, to sense godliness, you have to crush down on the animal soul. You have to crush it and put it in its place and realize that this is really an obstruction to godliness. Now, we're not talking about the physical body, because I get this question a lot. That means I have to crush my body, I have to stop eating and stop drinking and stop doing things. No, absolutely not. The body is a godly, God gave us the body and we have to protect the body and do everything that is healthy. But we're talking about our selfish soul, our selfishness. We're all self-centered. It's all about us. It's all about me. And this is the Alter Rebbe. You have to realize that this is totally obstructing godliness. He gives it so many names. How this is, you have to be repulsed of this animalistic soul, and so on. But if that is the case, then you're going to get depressed. If you're going to go so harsh down on yourself, that can lead you to be depressed. Says the Alter Rebbe, this sadness will help you break out from the spiritual insensitivity, and then you will focus that there is really a good reason to be happy. And why? What is the reason? Because this animalistic soul that you have is only one part of you. What is the true part of you is the neshama, the godly soul that is in you. And when you realize that the godly soul is in prison in your animalistic soul, and every time you do a mitzvah, you allow it to go out of the prison, and you allow it to connect to Hashem, this leads you to simcha. This leads you to joy, that you're not tied with your animalistic soul. You're not tied in jail. You are able to break out of this jail. And the fact is, as the Alter Rebbe explained, that this is the way God created us. God created us with this animalistic soul. But our job is to focus and to realize what is the true me. The true me is the nefesh elokis, the godly soul. If we learn this and internalize this, we focus on this concept, then we will be able to reach an understanding that it is also I'm also capable to love my fellow. Because if I look at myself, what is important? What part of me is important? Is it my body? Is it my animalistic self? Or is it my godly self? If you practice thinking that and understanding that the animalistic self is really your enemy, it's not you. It's something that blocks you from doing the right thing, from connecting to Hashem. What is the real me? What is the more important self? Is the godly soul. Now, wait a second. The godly soul, my fellow Jew, is just as godly as me. He's just as holy. We are part of the same soul. And Alter Rebbe goes there in different stages. It starts with the fact that we all have neshamas, godly souls. And you don't know which soul is higher. Could be the other one is higher than yours. So if that is the main focus of your life, about the neshama, the godly soul, the godly self, then seeing another Jew will only make you happy. If the focus is on the animalistic self and the selfishness, then what will make you happy? To get more stuff to yourself. Everything is me. But if it's the godly neshama, that will unite you with another person. You'll be happy. You'll love the other person because he has exactly the same neshama as you. And it goes further because Av Echad L'Kolano, we all have one Father and one source. We are really one. Not even different souls. We are really one soul. It is a chapter that we need to focus a lot. We need to study it a lot, and we need to internalize it a lot. Let's start inside. As the Alter Rebbe, v'hinei al yedei kiyum advorim anizkarim leheil. Now, it says, acting on the advice that we mentioned above in the previous chapters. Liya is gufay nivze v'nimas be'enav. That you view your body, when you view your body with scorn, with contempt, the body meaning the bodily soul, the animalistic soul. Rak simchasoi tiye simchas hanefesh levadoi. And what is your joy will be only the joy of the soul, meaning the godly soul. Arizui derech yeshara vekala lavoi lidei kiyum mitzvas ve'ohavto lereyacha kamecha. So this, says the Alter Rebbe, is a direct and easy path toward fulfilling that mitzvah of love. You shall love your fellow Jew like you love yourself. L'chol nefesh miYisrael, with regard to every Jew, doesn't matter what level. Let me gadol v'at from small, from great to small, meaning great in spiritual levels. You can say, I love, oh, this guy is such a tzaddik, I love him. Oh, but the other guy, he's such a lowlife, he's such a crook. No, that v'ahavta l'reacha is to each and every Jew. Says the Alter Rebbe, this will help you fulfill this mitzvah. Why? Since his body is despised and loathsome. As we said before, that the body, again, the body is the animalistic soul, the selfishness and everything. That is loathsome because you realize how terrible it is. It stops you from connecting to Hashem. So what is important? V'nefesh v'ruach, and the greatness. The soul and the spirit. Who can tell the greatness of the soul and the spirit? So when you look in the source, in the roots of the living God, and here it says Elokim Chaim, which is the source of the neshamas. You notice the word Elokim is one of the names of God, but this name is in plural. This refers to the source of the godly neshamas, which gives the neshamas to all the Jewish people, and that is the Elokim Chaim. And in there is different souls, many different souls. There are different levels of souls. So when you think about the soul, if your focus is what is important to you is the godly soul, and this is what you love, then you don't know what's the next person. Could be the next person, he may act like a crook, but he may have a godly soul which is higher than yours. So we don't know the levels of the souls. It says a person with a difficult challenges has a higher soul to be able to overcome his or her challenges. So that's step number one. Think about the other person, look at him as the neshama, as the soul. And then further, the Alter Rebbe says that the truth of the matter is, v'shegam shekulam masimos. Furthermore, he says they are actually all equal. Ve'av echad lekulanu. Not only are they equal, they all have one father. We all come from one source. Velochein, therefore, nikru kol Israel achim mamish. This is why all Jewish people are called brothers, to the full sense of the word. Because the word brothers in the Torah is mentioned when Avram says to Lot, Anashim achim anachnu, we are brothers. Avram and Lot were not brothers, but he refers to him as brother, and Rashi explains brother means a relative. Or brothers means we look alike. That's what Rashi says. But here the Alter Rebbe says, no, we're not called brothers because we are relatives. We are called brothers because we are really brothers. Mitzat shoyresh nafsham b'Hashem echad. What makes us brothers? Because we have one Father. Because the source, the root of our soul is the one God. Rak shagufi mechulakim. Only that the body are distinct from each other. But the neshama, we are all one. Velochein, and therefore says the Alter Rebbe, ha'oisim gufam ikam v'nafsham tefeilah. Those who make their body the main thing, and the soul becomes secondary. It's impossible to have between them a real, true love. The only love that it can have is love that is based on an external factor. You love the person because is kind. You love the person because he helps you, because he's smart, or so on. So that love is something that is dependent on something else, on an external factor. It's not an essential love. And when we're saying love yourself, love your fellow like you love yourself, the Torah requires from us to have a real love, a real essential love, like you love yourself. And this, says the Alter Rebbe, explains an interesting thing. You know the story. The Alter Rebbe tells the Talmud, when it says the Hillel, there was the guy that wanted to convert, the Gentile that wanted to convert to Judaism, and he came to Shammai and he told him, I want to convert, but standing on one foot, and Shammai, the sage Shammai, kicked him out. Then he came to Hillel. Hillel was more a kind person. He was from the easygoing person, if you want to say. And when he told him, I want to become a Jew, but I want to learn the whole Torah standing on one foot, he told him, yeah, no problem. He told him that whatever you don't want to do to others, don't do. Whatever you don't want people to do to you, don't do to others. This is the whole Torah. The rest of the Torah is commentary. Now the question is, what does it mean to love somebody else? Is the whole Torah? That is the basis of the whole Torah. This is the second part of the song. We say to love your fellow Jew just the same as you is the basis of the Holy Torah. It's the basis of the Holy Torah. I can understand if you tell me that this is a basis of the laws that govern the relationship between people. Not to steal, not to kill. That I can understand, that loving a fellow is the basis of those laws. You cannot do something to somebody else, things that you don't want to do to yourself. But what is this connection with this mitzvah? Let's say put on tefillin because you love your fellow Jew. All the other mitzvahs, eat kosher because you love. What's the connection? Says the Alter Rebbe. Again, that based on what we explained in chapter 31, that what is the main thing? What is the main focus? What is the main focus that needs to be is the godly neshama, the soul. So when you do a mitzvah, if you do a mitzvah knowing that the main thing is the godly neshama, that means that the body is secondary, that the body really, the animalistic soul blocks and obstructs godliness. And the focus needs to be on the godly soul. Then this is the whole entire Torah. The entire Torah is to elevate you and that you should realize what is the real thing. Then when you do a mitzvah, then when you put on tefillin, you're going to do it not for yourself, you do it for Hashem. You do it to become one with Hashem, to exercise your real neshama, your real soul, the godly soul. Continues the Alter Rebbe. Let's see it inside. So, v'zeu she'omar Hillel hazaken al kiyum mitzvah zu, zeu kol ha'Torah kula, ve'idach pirushahu kula. This explains Hillel the elder's statement concerning the fulfillment of this mitzvah, that this is the entire Torah. The rest is but commentary. And he explains, Ki yesoid v'shoyresh kol ha'Torah ulehagbia ulehalois hanefesh al haguf. He says the base and the root purpose of the entire Torah is to elevate and exalt the soul over the body, to elevate above to Hashem, to the source and root of all the worlds. That's one thing. It is also to bring down godliness into the source of the neshama. V'gam lehamshich oyer ein soif baruch hu b'knesses Yisrael. The root, the basis of the Torah is also to draw down the infinite light of Hashem, of the Ein Sof, blessed be, in Knesset Israel. What is the Knesset Israel? The community of Israel, which is the source, the root of all the Jewish neshamas. This will be explained in more details later on. The Ainu says the B'Mekoyer Neshamas Israel. This is meaning into the foundation, the root of the soul, the souls of all Israel. That the one God will reside within Israel, and only insofar as they are one, united. When they are united, when the neshamas of Israel are united, they can become one. But this bringing the light of the Ein Sof and the source of the neshamas doesn't happen if there is, God forbid, a separation in the souls. The kutsha brichu leisharia ba'asar pegim, because Hashem, God, does not dwell in an imperfect, fragmented place. Amrim, as it says, Borcheinu avinu kulanu ke'echad be'oyer panecha. We say in the davening every day, bless us, our Father, all of us as one, with the light of your countenance. As we will be explained elsewhere at length, that the achdus, the unity of Am Yisrael, is something that brings the blessing. Why? Because the unity of Am Yisrael, when we are united with the neshamas, we reach to what makes us united is the very essence, the very soul, the very source of our neshama, which is God Himself. And when we reach there, this brings down the light of Hashem. Just like when a child, before the child is born, is in the mother's womb, all of it's part of one body, but still they are divided to different limbs, but yet limbs of one body. But then when it goes further, when it's in the source, in the father's brain before it comes, it's really, really one. It's one thing. You cannot even divide it to say this is one neshama, this is another neshama, this is one part of the body, one limb, this is another limb. They're all one thing. The same thing is Am Yisrael, the neshamas of the Jewish people. When we are in the source, there we are really one. You cannot even differentiate between the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu and the neshama of the last Jew. Everyone is really one in the same level. When we focus on this, when we realize who we are, what is our source, that brings us up to a higher level. This allows also that Hashem should bring more bracha, more light into the source of the neshamas, and therefore brings down the brachas down here to this physical world. This is an amazing view, the way the Alter Rebbe explains how we're able, and we should fulfill this mitzvah of love your fellow just like you love yourself. This is the end of today's shir. Tomorrow we'll continue and end this chapter, so you can join us again at 9 o'clock in the morning. And thank you for joining, and sharing is caring. Share this lesson to your friends. Any questions we can ask now?